Hello and welcome to today's video. I have been out the last couple of weeks, so it's exciting to get back to it again. I am Tammy Coyne, your holistic alchemist, helping you change pain into possibilities and possibilities into purpose. I upload content on holistic healing and personal development on Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually. And on Saturdays, I have the Holistic Pathway podcast where I do unscripted conversations on mind, body, spirit, and entrepreneurship. You can find it either under the video tab on the playlist or in the podcast tab. So for today's video, I had a question come in while I was on the road, and I wanted to read that question and go ahead and address it today. And this is around free will. And the question came through, says, "Hey, Tammy, I wanted to see your take on the subject of free will. I've been struggling on it a bit, feeling a bit conflicted. I understand that Source is all-knowing, all-wisdom, all-powerful, infinite. Each person is predestined to fulfill a purpose in life. Yet what connects to me more is that we do have a choice and we can create the life we want. Obviously, it contradicts. How do you feel about this?" So I gave my answer to them, and I wanted to go ahead. I thought this was a great topic, and one that if you're on the holistic path, chances are you're going to have this come up from time to time. And now, the first thing I want to say is that nobody knows. Like, nobody really knows. You can have your best guess, you can have an educated guess, you can have intuitive knowing. And at the end of the day, it's really yours to decide. So my take on free will is maybe a little bit different than someone else because of my own personal experience. First, I'll give you some belief systems that I have, and then I will kind of give you some other things that have happened and let you see what you think about this. So we're kind of taught that we all have free will. We have the ability to make choices or not make choices based on what we decide. I would like to say yes, and. So I also believe that as a soul, we incarnate to the earth with a particular purpose, with a particular mission. And some will look very different than others. In fact, with my clients, I often say a lot of the world came here to be caterpillars, and only some came to be butterflies. And if you are here to be a caterpillar and you're content to be a caterpillar, no problem. But if you're a caterpillar and you feel like something's missing, like you're here to be a butterfly, even if you don't quite know that, but you know something, then staying a caterpillar can feel very depressing, can feel very restrictive, can feel like you don't belong here, can feel like a lot of other things. Now, the caterpillar butterfly is just a metaphor that I like to use, showing different types of evolution. So when I say your soul incarnates for a purpose or a mission, what I mean by that is something that you are here to learn. Now, that might give the impression that I'm saying you're here to do big things in the world, or you're here to evolve to a certain position or something like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the reason for your soul to incarnate right now at this time could be to experience any number of things, could be to experience a life without suffering at all, could be here to experience a happy, blissful life, a life full of money. Now, all of this can be whatever. Again, make it up as you go. Because someone might say, oh, well, apparently I didn't sign up for that because that's not the life I got. I would have chosen that. Well, we're also kind of thinking about things from our human brain, our human understanding, but I'm talking about from a very, 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 very high level view. So when I consider past lives that I've had, past lives that I know about, past lives that I've experienced, I wasn't a particularly nice person in all of them. Some of them were pretty horrible from what I understand. Some of them were pretty amazing. So think about this. From a soul level, there's all kinds of experiences that you need in order to grow. Now, as a human, you might say, well, I didn't choose that. And yet, what if it's something that your soul chose in order for you to grow in this time around? So, example, my life is full of trauma, abuse, and loss. Now, the human might say, oh, I didn't sign up for this. And what if I did? Now, on a higher level. And the reason I say that is because I know that all of those experiences actually gave me the compassion that I have now. It gave me the experience I have now to work with other people. It gave me the love and gratitude that I might not have otherwise had. So things aren't always as they seem. Okay, so keeping that in mind, in 2014, when I went through the spiritual awakening, I was given a mission because there's also thinking that when you incarnate, you actually forget a lot of most everything you've ever done before in any other life. That is what the awakening happens. And so you begin to remember all that you are. So I've actually gone through integration where past lives have now integrated into the life I have now. Again, story for another time, but I'm trying to get this in context for the conversation around free will. So when I was given this mission in 2014, I began to wake up. I began to wake up to all that I had been in past lives, one of which was a Buddhist healer, one of which was an ancient Inca Peruvian shaman, one of which was a Celtic shaman, one of which was a sorceress. So now there were a lot of other things that weren't so good. And yet there were experiences gained in these other lifetimes that began to help me do the work I do in this lifetime. Okay, so free will. When I was given the mission in 2014, I believe that free will can say, yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not going to do that, which happens to a lot of humans in the human experience. Life does not align with what they feel that they want. So what happens? They might choose addiction over this other option, being true to who they are, being truly themselves. They might choose to ignore their mission. Okay, that's possible too, unless you're me. And I don't know, I haven't had this conversation with a lot of other people, so I don't know if other people have experienced this or not. I always believed I had free will and had the ability to choose or not choose to do what Spirit was asking me to do until 2019-ish. And all of a sudden, I went through a very strange experience where it felt like I had been stripped of my free will. I have no language to explain to you what that feels like. The only thing that I could liken it to was imagine being a stick, like a piece of wood stick, in a river that is rushing, and you have no options but to float fast. Like, you can't touch the side, you can't get out, you can't get stuck on a rock, you can't get anything because it is pushing you down the path. That is exactly how I felt in 2019. Like my hands had been tied and I had no options but to continue to show up and do the work that I had been called to do. So I did the hardest thing I had to do on my path, which was surrender to the divine and know that I was called into service for a reason. I haven't always known what that meant. I haven't always known how to show up. I keep going. I keep trying. I keep doing my best. I fall on my face. I cry. I lose. I face homelessness, all kinds of shit on this path. And some might say, well, I'd stop doing that. Well, yeah, I would if I could. So in 2019, it became very clear to me that I had been called. I had gone through everything I've gone through in this life and the other lives to be able to help the people. And I don't get to sit this one out. It's show up and keep going. So once I got on board with that, I felt the ties from my hands. And again, these aren't literal, these are metaphorical, but I felt them lift from my hands. And again, I could move my hands, and again, I could make decisions and do these different things. And I also know what that experience felt like. So it's still there. And if I choose to fly in the face of my spiritual calling, I think I'm going to get set down and say, listen, sister, this is what I called you to do. Get off your butt and do it. So, free will. In most circumstances, I believe you do have free will. And I also believe that there are certain parameters for your life, for your human experience this time around. And you can go a few different ways. Now, keep in mind, sometimes a person's path is pretty horrible. Sometimes a person's path might be dying from an overdose. Sometimes a person's path might be dying on death row. I don't know. I don't have that path, at least not so far. So, free will. Do you get to choose? Perhaps, perhaps not. And what do you think? That's really important. Our conversation went on, this person and I, our conversation went on. They had some other questions. I had some other thoughts. And at the end of the day, do I feel that there are only a chosen few who have a purpose? I don't. I believe there's a purpose for everything on this planet because it's all connected. It is this web of connection. And I don't mean web like the internet. I mean, everything is connected. Everything has a purpose. We may not always like the purpose. We may not always get the purpose, but everything is connected. And I believe everything has messages for you. I also don't believe there's only just this small handful of people that are chosen. Now, I had a spiritual awakening that I did not choose. It chose me. And I see other people who go seeking spiritual awakenings and sometimes get themselves into a mess a little bit because they try to shortcut the way to awakening through various things. And when it's your turn to awaken, you will awaken or you won't. just depends. What I've found about everything that I speak about and everything that I teach about, the most important thing I can add is, what do you think? What do you feel? It is great to go out and listen to other people. It is great to read a book. It is great to research. It is great to attempt to educate yourself on what you believe is true and correct for you. And at the end of the day, you are a divine being. You are connected to Source, God, Spirit, Universe, Great Spirit. You are. What messages are you receiving? What is true and correct for your path this time around? This is part of the reason I have such issue with organized religion, when it attempts to separate people, when it attempts to say, I'm right and you're wrong. If you don't do what I do, then you're wrong. If you don't believe what I believe, then you're wrong. How do you know? Like, seriously, how do you know? Over time, it has become very obvious to me that we were created and evolved by a presence, by an energy, by a spirit that has way more wisdom than what we have on the human experience. And I believe that there are all these different paths to the same thing. So how in the world can I say that you're wrong? How in the world can you say that I'm wrong? What if we ultimately are going and getting to the same place? What if? What if? So, what do you think about free will? Do you find that you have free will in your life? One thing that we know on the human experience is everything that we do has a consequence. Everything has a consequence. Everything also has a choice. Do we always like the choices? Nope. Are the choices always those that we deem good? Nope. Sometimes the choices suck real bad. But which way do we want to go? Which way do we want to go? Now, does it matter what we choose if we're all going the same way? I don't know. Are we all going the same way in the human experience? I would say if you are a new soul incarnating into the human experience, and I don't mean as a baby, but I mean this is your first time in a human form, your route might be very different than someone else's. So this can get super, super deep, right? You can think about things you might have never thought about. You can contemplate on things, you can decide, but at the end of the day, you get to decide for you. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. We don't know right now, do we? So, what gives you peace in your soul? What, when you feel it, says, yes, this is true and correct for me today? And when it comes with free will or anything else, what happens if next week you gain new insight and you change your mind? Is that okay? It is to me. The importance is your growth, your healing, and your growth in your human experience in this lifetime. for you to have so much belief in yourself as a divine being that you really don't need anyone else's answers. You may seek help. You may ask for help. I think everybody can benefit from teachers and coaches and counselors and mentors. I think everyone can, because it can help expand our horizons. It can help expand our beliefs. And the more you expand, the more you know that you get to choose, that you have permission. Now, if the divine says, no, you haven't been doing it right, you need to do it this way, well, then that's a different conversation. So hopefully no one else does that. I'm a little bit hard-headed, and I've often been told I need to, used to say I needed to get sort of hit in the head with a metaphorical frying pan before I would get a clue. And luckily, I've evolved past that now. So, what do you think about this concept of free will? Let me know. Again, it really hadn't been on my mind to talk about until I got this question, and I thought it might be something interesting for you to consider. So, I am Tammy Coyne, your holistic alchemist, helping you change pain into possibilities and possibilities into purpose. I would really like to assist you on your journey, and I do offer a free consultation still, which may be going away. I don't know, but right now it's still available. Check for a link in the comments in the description if you would like some help getting you to the next level of your life. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.